Welcome back to Chiefs fans before we were cool.
Yep, we were Chiefs fans before we were cool, and now we are just working on being cool while also being Chiefs fans.
It's a tough balance, but we're working on it. In fact, I asked Chat GPT this week how to be cool, and so it gave me some advice I might share on another time. But we're doing something a little different this week because we've liked interaction we've had from all of you. We're going to do a giveaway. So I have a Chiefs mini helmet, and it's cool. It's very Chief-y. I don't know if that's the thing we could say, but I just said it. So
Yeah.
if you want to do this, if you want to win this, all you need to do to enter is to subscribe and then comment who you think the coolest current Chiefs player is. So just tell us who you think the coolest Chiefs player is who's currently on the roster. So that way we can know who we need to follow to be cool. So
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, it's very much Chiefs related and fitting. So yeah, who is the coolest Chiefs player?
And maybe next week we can give our answers.
Do you have an answer to that question, or do you want to wait?
Let's wait.
We should probably wait till next.
Yeah. Well, we have a special guest
don't
this week.
Influence.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to influence them. We don't want them to think that by, it'll be random, but we don't want them to think that by picking our answer that they have a better chance of winning. So we have a special guest today, so I'm going to get them in here. Yeah, I see what you did there. So let's go ahead and get him in. It says, all right. So he's here, but he's not quite here yet. Oh, there he is. So this
not
guest,
quite all here. Is that what you're saying, Joel?
That's not how I meant it, but take it how you want. So we have a special guest this week, who is my resident father. I mean, he's my normal father too, but is also my resident statistician. So whenever I have anything stats related, like what are my chances of winning the lottery, and I want to be discouraged, I ask him about that. So I asked him this week to give us, from a statistician standpoint, the answer of why it's not a good idea to bet your house on a football game.
So I'm going to address that, but first maybe we'll say a couple of things that will answer the question why it's not a good idea to have your dad on your podcast.
Oh boy.
Well, not only have I known both of these men since before they were cool, I knew them back when they drooled. So we go back a long ways.
Like yesterday?
With these guys. Yeah, well, that could be it. So football, sports in general, or life in general, is not what you want to bet your house on. I'm trying to, avoid too technical of terms here, but basically from a statistical standpoint, doing so is well, it sucks. It's pretty stupid. But taking a bigger step back, first of all, Chris doesn't own his house, so he can't really bet it. The bank owns part of Chris's house, I assume. But more importantly,
and I know I own the other part now. So
is that? Yeah, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? Let's talk briefly about sports betting, okay? Since that's maybe a more serious question than whether it's ever a good idea to bet your house on anything. Everybody knows that. But just briefly, say about how sports betting works. Simply speaking, the side of sports betting that you'd like to be on is being the sports book itself. You'd like to be, the one managing the bets, because the big idea behind odds for games or spreads or whatever, or setting the over and under, it's always to try to balance the amount of money that people will bet. Okay, so Chiefs are playing the Broncos. Maybe I shouldn't use that example because that really hurts.
Yeah.
But so the Chiefs are playing the Panthers, and the very few people are going to bet on the Panthers in that situation. And so you don't want everybody betting on the Chiefs. So the big idea is that you set the spread so it's enough of a spread where somebody will think, hey, I'll take that bet, because the sports book wins by collecting a little bit of the money that both people bet on, and then they use the money that everybody bet that goes into one hand and goes out to the other hand. And so some people win and some people lose on every bet, but the sports book pretty much wins all the time. And one other thing I'd say, and pretty sure Chris wasn't super serious about the betting the house thing, is that there is so much variability, or what we might call in statistics noise, when it comes to sports outcomes, that you can't trust anything. So a bet, I would not have felt like I was risking my money betting on the Chiefs against Denver this past week if I bet, which I don't. And we saw how that turned out, and that hurts. It still hurts. So
Well,
sorry, Chris, you chose poorly, but I'm sure that it's all going to turn out fine.
If it makes you feel better for Chris, though, I already told him that we're not going to evict him. We're just going to discuss rental agreements.
Well, yeah, I don't know whether Chris knows what kind of landlord you'd be, Joel, but
I don't know what kind of landlord I'd
that's a
be.
daily
So
one.
let's figure that out together. So,
But while Chris's name's being bantered around, I do want to say that the wonders part of your podcast is something that I enjoy very much. So keep that coming and keep up the good work, guys.
all right,
Awesome.
thanks.
Do you want to answer a couple of the Brother Wonders questions for the week?
I will. I'll throw out what I can, and then you guys can give like knowledge for it.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So the first question, actually, it's just for Joel and I, and it's, now that I'm homeless, which one of you is going to take my family?
I'll let you answer that one, Eric.
I think Rod will.
Yeah.
I vote
Yeah,
for
Chris.
Rod.
We'll look forward to seeing you here in Virginia soon.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, not true. But do you think Tyreek will get more or less than 90 yards on Sunday?
I think.
Well, I'll throw in. Go ahead, Joel.
You go
Then,
first.
all right. So I think the Chiefs will be doing really well if they prevent the big strikes. Because he's going to get it open. He's going to get his passes. He's going to get his yards. It's just if it's possible for the Chiefs to keep that from being 60 yards and a touchdown all at once, then maybe that'll be a good outcome.
Yeah. I think Tyreek is doing everything he can to help the Chiefs. I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but I think he does not have the ability to not run his mouth. And he is giving the Chiefs, who are already really motivated to make up for a bad loss, more motivation. So that being said, I'm expecting he's going to get probably a touchdown. He's probably going to get, I would probably say, I'd probably say at least 80 yards, but I think the Chiefs hold him to not a huge game.
So in Germany, Joel, will he get yardage? Just asking.
We'll have to consult an expert on that.
Okay.
I'll let you know when we find one. But
yeah,
Eric, what are your thoughts on that?
I think he's probably going to go over. From what I've heard, the Dolphins got to Germany first, and so I'm kind of counting on that. I'm a little worried about the Chiefs, honestly, for that reason. that were coming a little bit later and with jet lag and things like that. We saw that really affect the Bills Jaguars game. And so I'm a little nervous. I think he could definitely get over 100. We also do a little bit, a good bit of man, things like that. So hopefully we'll do a good bit of smart play against Tyreek. But my guess is he goes over. I still think the Chiefs, I'm so confident. I'm at least hopeful that we'll win. But I think he's probably still going to get a pretty big game.
Yeah.
Well,
Chris
Travis
Jones
Kelce wasn't
unfortunately
worried about.
can't play against him. They could have a little ego battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Travis Kelce wasn't worried about when they would get there. He said if they got there at 4:30 on Sunday morning, he'd still be ready to play football. So,
Well, and
Yeah.
apparently there's two philosophies. Like some teams think get there early, and the Eagles didn't do exactly what the Chiefs are getting. Some people say get there the day before, because then you don't even, the way they see it is it's like 2 or 3 days after you've been there that the jet lag's at its hardest. So that's the philosophy. Some teams go either way on that, but yeah.
Well, I like that philosophy for this week.
Yeah.
well, Eric, it turns out that the Dolphins went early because they weren't sure they were going to be able to find their way there.
To figure it out.
It's really hard to swim that. It's possible for a dolphin, but it takes a while. So
Love it. All right. And then one final question. Do you think it was a mistake for the Chiefs not to trade for any players before the deadline? I guess that kind of obviously ignores McCole Hardman trade.
Yeah.
But
Dad, after you.
Who's what's available is the whole thing. The Chiefs are not desperate. I think it's amusing actually that you have a team that went 14-3 last year, won the Super Bowl, has as good a record as anybody in the AFC, and somehow or another people are putting out that the Chiefs desperately need players. The W's are what you need. The Chiefs played a bad game this past week, couple different plays, and the outcome is different. Fumbles, the Sky Moore not catch, those are things that could have changed the game. So, and then we would be having a whole different conversation about trade deadlines.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think I agree with you in that. Would I have loved to see that the Chiefs somehow swung getting Jefferson? Yeah, sure. Part of me would always want that, especially with like the Eagles and other teams really being buyers. But at the same time, our defense is looking really strong with a lot of young players. And the way to actually be a dynasty is to draft well and to get young talent, because if you buy, then like we're already in, hopefully we can find a way to keep Chris Jones after this year. But if we got Jefferson, then there's no way we're keeping Jones, right? So I was like, would I have liked to see another receiver if we could have gotten a steal on one? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm worried about years down the road, not just this year. But of course, I would like a Super Bowl this year too.
That would be nice. Yeah. But that's
nice.
the hard thing when you make those trades. And I think of the other trades, like they're trading for a player, they probably have to pay those players for the most part that were traded.
Yeah.
The next year. And we just don't have the cap to handle that. So I probably would rather have a second or third round pick than some of the players that got, even though they are strong and maybe could have helped us get towards the Super Bowl. But I agree, just between cap and trying to maintain a dynasty, it's important to do low risk moves because we don't need to shake everything off. We don't need to shake
it up. Yeah. And we want to make Kelce retire as a Chief. So let's pay him like we need to, because I don't want him playing anywhere else while he's playing.
Well, Eric, in response to what you said, I just say no cap.
No cap. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. I guess I have to do the leave thing. This is awkward. Or you say, there we go. Or you say goodbye. Like when you say goodbye to a friend, you're somewhere and then you end up walking in the same path for a few seconds. It's like, oh man, this is really awkward. So why don't we jump over to some memes?
On a phone call.
Yeah.
You're on phone call and neither of you hangs up right away because you're doing other stuff or just not thinking about it.
Exactly. So let's get to some memes, shall we?
Oh, absolutely. Let's get to some memes. All right, meme town. It's just what going from Aaron Rodgers to Jimmy Garoppolo will do to a man.
Uh
I mean, that's just a hard thing. I feel bad for him mostly because I went to the Raiders to play with Derek Carr, and then
yeah.
you got rid of Derek Carr. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't,
Yeah.
and they didn't deal him at the trade deadline, which I don't know what kind of deal they would have gotten, or they could have even
Yeah.
recouped hardly anything from what they had given up for him.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel for him. I know they're the Raiders, and so they're the bad guys. But
Yeah, I feel for him too, but especially because, the 49ers are able to convince teams that their average quarterbacks are elite because the 49ers have such a complete team. Like if they actually had an elite quarterback, they would, in my mind, be the favorite for the Super Bowl. I still think the Eagles are a better team than them in the NFC, but
mhm. Yeah, yep, I agree. Garoppolo is just not that great, and that's okay. Like he's a quarterback, but maybe New England was right to keep him back up, like as the backup, and it's kind of
yeah,
that's his role, high end backup rather than a starter. But
yeah,
they're switching out to Aiden O'Connell, so we'll see how that works for them. But
yeah,
hopefully that works better for Adams. Just such a good player. It's kind of ridiculous to see him so open all the time and stuff.
yeah,
Getting missed like he has been. Anyway,
yep. All right,
team,
next one.
Denver after beating the Chiefs, their record,
You know,
all
you,
the celebration.
you just think they'd
Yeah,
won the Super Bowl, and I know it's a big deal to beat a rival and everything, but I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more. But I thought of this
yeah,
meme instantly. So,
they got us.
yep,
Please check your kids. Candy Hillwin just found New York Giants tickets in my kid's bag. Some sick people out there.
classic. That's a like. There's every year there's jokes about that, and I intentionally didn't include the ones I'd seen with Cowboys tickets on there for your own safety.
Oh, thank you.
So,
I mean, the Cowboys are so cool to watch. I don't
yeah,
know. They
yeah,
they, they have crazy good defense and stuff, but yeah, the Giants that would be unfortunate. Because Cowboy tickets, I'd be like, send them to me.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
get
Send them my way. Send them my way.
All right, Commanders fan watching their team almost beat Philly twice. Commanders teams watching, watching their team sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are sellers. I'm a little worried for Eric Bieniemy, honestly, as we're on there. Like, I think he's doing some really cool stuff. Like, their offense has done some really neat things um, for the pieces they have. But I don't know. With a defense like that, maybe that'll make Eric Bieniemy show to be good. Maybe they'll get rid of Ron Rivera and make him the head coach. Who knows?
Yeah. I think at the rate they're doing, I agree with you, but I think like if I was the owner, the season continues this way, I'd fire Ron Rivera and at least make Bieniemy the interim and see how that
See what happens.
looks. But yeah.
I think that's a good call.
Yep. So do you have any
Yep.
interesting stats for us this week?
All right. How many rushing yards do you think Mahomes has per game?
Per game? Well, this week really messed up that average. 57
57 rushing yards?
per game.
Oh,
That's probably way too
uh,
high.
that's a little too many. Yeah, it's 30.
30.
57 is what Pacheco has, actually, oddly enough.
Oh, wow. If that was your next question, you could go ahead and ask it, and I can, maybe edit out the first question so that it sounds like I'm just really good.
Yeah, you're really, really good. Yeah, 29 per game. So that's a little
Okay.
bit more than he usually runs.
Yeah. Well, and the average would be significantly higher. I don't think he really ran for almost anything this last game.
Yeah.
So
So that was interesting to me. I don't think there was anything too much that popped out.
So should we talk about this game then?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Why don't you start us off? I have a lot of feelings, but I'll save them for
A
after
lot of
you're done.
feelings. I think it's a good thing to lose, and I think it's helpful to lose early rather than late, because there's time to correct things.
Mhm.
So I don't mind a loss. I would have sorry. I would have loved to have that against a higher quality opponent, or because I think there's maybe more things to learn other than just don't turn the ball over.
Mhm.
Um, maybe the Denver Broncos will be a little better than they seem to be at the beginning. Sean Payton is a pretty good coach, has been in the past. So they obviously had a pretty good game plan. You saw kind of hints of it the first time we met because we didn't just dominate them,
Yeah.
and then seemed like they really got it together. So, I try not to get too upset just because part of why I'm upset is because my team's so good, right? Like if you're the
Yeah.
Jets or something and you lose a game to like the Broncos or like they almost lost to the Giants, like that's frustrating. But you're like, well, we lost Aaron Rodgers. It's just not our
Yeah.
year, maybe.
Hmm.
But with the Chiefs, just every year having the sense of like any game we lose, we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
agree
that's a
with you.
pretty good spot to be in. So
Yeah.
it was a bummer. I actually didn't feel it as much. And obviously, I'm not going to feel it nearly as much as like losing the Super Bowl or losing a playoff game, because that's the real bummer. But right now, maybe we lose the first seed. Uh, I don't think so, but those are the kinds of losses that
Yeah.
can come be the difference in those situations. But yeah, it's fine. We're okay. Like, I think it's one of those things where lots of teams get in this mode like, oh, we beat them 16 times in a row or something like that. And we got to be careful not to play down to any opponent. And some of it is just kind of, the ball bounced the wrong way a little bit. Like, I think the main one I would say it was just kind of unlucky was the McCole Hardman drop.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think if that doesn't happen, it's a different game, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like you said, losing isn't always bad, especially earlier in the season. Obviously, you don't want to lose games you should win because then games that are closer, are more pressure. I think losing this week probably gives the Chiefs extra motivation against the Dolphins. Not that they already didn't have that. The other thing
yeah,
I'd say is that yes, the Chiefs lost to a team that's pretty bad this year. They might be getting better. I don't know that this did a lot for the Broncos except for pride because I think they're still not going to be good this year. So maybe having been sellers at the deadline, get a couple more draft picks might have been to their advantage. Um, but people also are blowing this loss out of proportion. First of all, you know, Mahomes had the flu. You could tell in those first two drives, he was not himself. His decision making was a lot worse. You know, he's still out there playing football. I can't hardly sit up on the couch when I have the flu. So like I want whatever they have, or maybe he's just that motivated. And two, like we take for granted in Kansas City the dominance we've had in our division. Most teams struggle against their divisions. The AFC North, they beat up on each other. Even Tom Brady, who had I think 32-3 record against the Bills, which the Chiefs were on pace to do better than that, in the Reed era. He had a lot worse record to the Dolphins. I don't remember what it was. I looked at it the other day, but it was significantly worse. It was maybe he won just 56% of the time against them or something. Teams tend to lose to their division games, tend to be hard, and it's easy to forget that in Kansas City when we've been so dominant in our division. Now, obviously the Broncos are excited because they beat us. I get a little frustrated when I see things on social media because okay, yeah, celebrate, you won a game against an opponent, but also to the people posting things like, oh, such and such player is Mahomes' father, like you're 1-12 against Mahomes now. So take it easy, like, celebrate the win, but move on to the next one, because you have a long way to go before you have a lot of bragging rights, in my opinion. So those are my feelings about that.
Yeah, you only really get bragging rights if you beat the Chiefs like 3 times in a row.
Yeah. And then what we want you to do is trash talk a lot about that leading up to the 4th game. That's always a good motivation. And if you're new to football, part of the reason teams struggle against the divisions is you play your division rivals twice a year, so you see what they do. And it's really hard to play them, with just 1 week between. That doesn't happen very often. But yeah, so
yeah. So yeah, Mahomes was a little sick. I heard some people gave him and Travis a hard time for going to the World Series. I don't like it's their life. I don't know if you can blame them, especially when Mahomes, went to Tech, not to Tech, but I know he did it. Yeah. Anyway, so Mahomes went to Texas school and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I remember a story last year, or maybe it was a couple years ago, where the Dolphins had ping pong table in their room, their locker room. And the coach was like, I'm really glad that the guys got rid of the ping pong table because it had been a distraction. And then Tyreek said, actually, we only got rid of it because we broke it. So like, other players find things to distract them. They're people. It's their job, but it doesn't mean it's their whole life, So anyway, I should cool it with saying things about Tyreek for now, because do I still wish he was on the team? Obviously, he's a great player, but yeah,
it's but it's tough. It's tough. No touchdowns, just field goals. The red zone this year could definitely be stronger.
Yeah. And I'm still hopeful about our receiving group. I also think like by next year, Rice is going to look like a desirable receiver. Like people be like, oh, I'd be happy to have him as a, wide receiver 2 on our team or something like that. Like, I think he's going to keep getting better. I don't know if you saw, Andy Reid was basically saying that drop wasn't really on Sky Moore. If you watch the video, he was an arm pulled down by the defender. That wasn't called. Which makes me feel a little bit better about it. But obviously, we got to like catch the ball and we got to not fumble the ball. And if we do those things, if the receivers catch and then people don't fumble, we're going to win a lot of football games.
That's right. And turnovers can be fluky and just kind of just had a lot of them come in at the same time.
Yeah,
it's not a problem. There's not too big deal. I was a little like the McCole Hardman one stuck out to me. I mentioned that earlier. Like as a big turning point and a frustrating thing, because we're like, finally we have a trustworthy return specialist, and then made a mistake. That's okay. Like,
and he owned it after the game. He said, I was trying to do too much. That loss is on me.
Yeah. So learn and grow from that. It's okay. Sometimes you get the 50-yard return, and sometimes you get a drop. And they just had a bad game. So.
Sometimes you get a 50-yard return, and sometimes a 50-yard return gets you. So.
Gotten by a 50-yard return.
Got to get some humor in there after a sad week of football. But hey, any week of football is better than no football, in my opinion. So.
That's true. I mean, but Sunday's games can be a little tricky. But I guess we'll just see some replays and stuff.
Yeah, you can't watch it. I can't watch it live. You can't watch it live on Sunday, so I have to watch some replays. But honestly, that might be better for my stress level a little bit. So, I think it's cool that we're playing games in other countries for fans there. I think I've heard there's a lot of Chiefs fans in Germany, and I'm happy they get to see the Chiefs. I would prefer if we did not travel to international. I prefer to be other teams because I think it is hard. But I'm glad other people get to appreciate Mahomes. So,
we don't have to be shellfish.
Yeah, we don't have to be shellfish because a lot of people are allergic to shellfish. So
that's exactly right. so we can let him go, out. Yeah, I mean, he had the flu. Mahomes had the flu, kind of throwing it out. I think the main thing that has been consistent that showed up were some turnover issues. Uh,
Yeah.
I bet Mahomes' interceptions kind of regress back closer to the mean. Like he's never thrown more than 13. So we'll see if that streak continues,
Yeah.
through the first 8 games. But that's not it's not the end of the world. Even if it was 16 or whatever,
Yeah.
like it's still pretty amazing.
And a lot of them end up on deep balls that end up basically being punts. It's third down, we throw it
Yeah.
deep, and it's similar yardage to a punt.
Yeah.
So
That's just throwing a Fitzpatrick throw.
yeah, yeah, Fitz magic. So I do have a quick Swift segment for us today.
Oh, let's do the Swift one for sure.
Taylor Swift recently released a new album, 1989 Taylor's version, and on there lies our song for tonight. For tonight's quick Swift segment, How to Get the Girl. As we think back to the beginning of on Travis and Taylor's relationship, we know that Travis tried to give Taylor a friendship bracelet with his phone number on it at the Kansas City Eras tour. Since then, they have been seen together hand in hand at restaurants in New York City. Travis is a total gentleman when it comes to his love for Taylor. That's right, we said love. Their love story is starting to really blossom, and and Eric and I, well, okay, mostly my wife and me unashamedly are here for it. I'm reading what she wrote, but I like that she wrote it from my perspective here. Taylor said herself on How to Get the Girl, pictures and frames of kisses on cheeks, and they say, you want me, yeah. Then you say, I want you for worse or for better. So I never heard that song, but I'm glad that I have a Swift person to teach me how to be a Swiftie, and I have helped her become a better Chiefs fan. So it works out.
Yeah, he does. Travis definitely seems head over heels for Taylor. See if it goes the other way. I did think it was pretty sweet. As a Chiefs fan, run into articles now that'll be talking about Taylor Swift. And one article I think I just saw the title of, but it said that Taylor came to Kansas a day early to kind of console Travis after the
I
loss.
didn't see that, but you need to send that to me so I can send that to Hannah. Hannah's probably seen it already, but in case yeah.
So I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue my stance. I think there are two people that are sage, just really like to have fun. And I think Travis is very serious, and I don't know about Taylor, but ultimately, it's a lot of fun, and it's fun to get some new football fans and people liking the Chiefs.
But I do have to say this as somebody who is a Chiefs fan and a growing Swiftie. Any Swifties listening to this, yes, Taylor Swift is known by way more people, but she did not put Travis on the map. He was already on the map. You just didn't have that map, okay? Come on.
Okay, that's true. He had some name value in his own right, but he's still she's still way
Oh,
way
no
higher.
doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Like, it's like suddenly Travis is like, man, maybe I shouldn't have been taking these pay cuts all this time now that I'm dating somebody worth $1 billion.
Yeah. Or in like the fact that now he has people taking pictures of him in public. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's somebody, I'm sure his personality will be great in that setting. So for as long as it lasts, I'm sure he's going to have a good time.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Good times. Any other thoughts as we go to the Dolphins other than Tyreek? Let's hope that we finally get to pay Tyreek back for all his smack talk.
Yeah. If we can get pressure on Tua, we'll be okay. And the two teams the Dolphins have lost to are teams with good defenses. So it seems like they do have a vulnerability. And so hopefully we can beat that. And Yeah, let's go get a W because we got the bye week and then the Bills afterwards, I think is what it is. So we got some tough games coming up, but let's go get to it and let's get that W.
That's right. I don't want to be too negative, but I think a lot of it will depend on how well we contain the run game.
Yeah.
That was not the biggest factor in our loss. I think the turnovers were, but it is something we haven't been as strong as the passing game. So if we can contain Tyreek and then not give up too much on the other side with the run game, I think we're gonna bring home the win and give the Germany a show.
Yeah, and I saw this stat today, which obviously is a little convoluted, but it was games where Pacheco has 15 or more attempts at rushing. The Chiefs are, I think, like 12-0. It said so. Doesn't matter how poor the run game's going. If we get the ball to him 15 times, we're going to win. That's what I understand from that.
That's how stats work.
Yeah,
I think we
we'll
need to
have
get Ron back. Ron?
Yeah,
Ron?
see if that holds true. So works 100% of the time, every time. So
all right, let's just not bet anybody else's house on this one.
Yeah. So, yep. Well,
all right. Well, I'll see you next week, and after we bask in the glory of beating Tyreek and
after we beat Tyreek, and remember, if you want to win a Chiefs mini helmet, very similar to this one, it is in fact this one. Tell us, subscribe, and then tell us in the comment who is the coolest Chiefs player. And you can't say Eric because he's not a Chiefs player. He is pretty cool, I think, but not a Chiefs player. So you can't win.
I definitely don't want to say who's the coolest of us, of the hosts.
Yeah, we're not doing that question.
We're not doing that at all. Rod wins.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. See you next week.
See ya.